Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake. Myself, Jake Storielli, David Mendelson on the ones, twos, and threes. We are doing something exciting, but might turn your head at first. We're going to do some off-season tier lists, and if that throws you off because it's April 17th, we're almost 4 weeks into the season, well, this off-season kind of ran into the season between Snell, Monty, JD Martinez, the Boris Four. And, I mean, how close was that Dylan Cease trade to opening day?
Very close.
Wasn't there another one of those that was big?
They were like about to go to Korea, and
Right.
Monty was right before.
Cease missed the team flight.
Yes.
What was that? Did he fly? He flew out solo.
I'm guessing. Yeah, they probably went out a few days early.
That's funny. And more so, the point is, we did a mid-off-season MLB tier list, which you can go check that out. And that was on December 20th, I think. December 20th. We did an MLB mid-season tier list. We thought there would be a full off-season tier list close to before the season, but it kind of felt like the off-season wasn't getting done. And then it kept moving. So I wanted to do a follow-up update. We can get the tier list for you guys. The categories we had was one, the off-season, good off-season, depending on youth to get better, which I think there were complementary pieces added, so we didn't want to knock their offseason, but they also shouldn't be necessarily docked because they had a lot of young talent. Then there was wins or feels like Charlie Morton's former team, which I know that sounds like a not ideal grading category. But there are some interesting teams in there. Braves, Pirates, Houston, Rays, Milwaukee Giants were in there at the time. We'll circle back on that. There was a Nothing Matters category. And then there was a famous from Talking Baseball, What Is You Doing, Baby? So I think the easiest way to do this is that we are lucky enough, we do our team profile and projections as we lead up to the Major League Baseball season, where we have our fans rank the top 30 MLB teams. And it'll give us a nice little easy pecking order to see some of the later transactions and what we missed. And I think a lot of these early teams are easy to get out of the way, because at number 30, it is your Oakland Athletics, and they will remain a Nothing Matters.
Yeah.
They're owner, reminder, trying to lose and move the team. It's really bad. Colorado Rockies, a little bit of the same. They're off to a poor start. They didn't really make other ads that were ads. Sorry, Rockies fans. I think they know Nothing Matters, and they don't like that. And I want to change that one day. It's my retirement job, Rockies front office assistant. The Washington Nationals, BBD. They ended up having a little late flurry. Joey Gallo, Jesse Winker, Eddie Rosario.
They've got bodies in.
Unfortunately, it is a Nothing Matters. Their expectations did not change. I am marking the Nationals as a team to watch for next year. I think by the end of this season, C.J. Abrams is going up and up. They should call up Dylan Cruz and James Wood in the outfield. Do they have another young player? They're playing the third baseman we fell in love with, Lipscomb.
Trey Lipscomb.
They need a little more pitching, but you can find pitching that I'm actually starting to get excited for a little bit of Nationals next year, but not of this year.
They can. There's a world where by the end of this year they feel like Charlie Morton's former team, but
ooh.
It's early.
They could only hope. They can only hope. Maybe Charlie Morton ends up there next year. They'll need some pitching.
Round.
A little retirement gig. The next team on our team profile and projection list was the Chicago White Sox. They were one of the kind of losers of the offseason, and they are one of the losers of this regular season so far. It has been bad on the south side. Are they the north side? I always do this. They're the south
They're the
side.
south side.
Southsiders. That says their jersey. Yeah, they're awful.
Jeez.
They're awful. They are feeling it, too. Garrett Crochet has been starting and looking nice, but everything else is really hurting. And yeah, so when we did their team profile and projection, especially just on December 20th when we did the midseason tier list, they still had Dylan Cease. And now they don't. And man, they got hurt early on. I think Eloy, Moncada, and Robert got hurt.
Yeah.
That was like their only hope.
Like those guys like doing anything and playing themselves into some value. They do this Dylan Cease trade without getting the Padres like upper echelon pitching prospects. Drew Thorpe, a nice prospect. Padres system is stacked.
This isn't what this was supposed to be, but the 2-14 White Sox, who I think they set a record for getting shut out. I think it was 5 times in the first 12 games or something. This was their lineup last night. Robbie Grossman leading off, currently hitting 190.
A late ad, I believe.
Andrew Benintendi, currently hitting 169. Andrew Vaughn, currently hitting 172. Gavin Sheets cleaning up, hitting. And then it's El Sosa, which I'm not sure on the first name.
Lennon Sosa.
Is it Lennon? The spelling gets me sometimes. Dominic Flesher, Shoemake, Maldonado, and Nicky Lopez.
Sosa.
I don't know, man. That lineup is a tough look. Sorry, White Sox fans. Didn't think we'd get caught up in that again.
Did theirs drop? Because I love the Cease trade.
Ooh, interesting. Nothing matters to what is you doing, baby. I think it's still just nothing matters.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they couldn't have an offseason that let them compete.
Yeah, there was not going to be a world where they get higher than that, but it's been as bad a start to the year as it can be.
Yeah.
And I didn't love the Cease trade when they had leverage to go do more.
In a way, the White Sox are rebuilding, and I think what is you doing, baby, is supposed to be like, what is this?
Actively like just awful. This
like you
didn't make
need to
sense.
go a direction.
Yeah. Kind of not worried about it right now.
Yeah. Next on the sheet, as we chew down the list, the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Your Halos. Okay, so they lost Shohei. That one hurt. Jared Walsh, who ended up playing a little bit for Texas to start the season. Gio Urshela, Malibu Mike. They added a lot of bullpen arms. Robert Stevenson, Matt Moore, Luis Garcia, Adam Simber. Nothing really on the offensive front, I don't think. Aaron Hicks, our guy.
Sano got in on a minor league deal and made the team.
Previously, they were listed on Nothing Matters, and I still think that counts.
I think it's still Nothing Matters.
They lost
Sano is
Shohei.
off to a nice start.
Trout's going.
Taylor Ward. It's Taylor Ward.
Nothing matters in Anaheim. Sorry, guys. They agree, so I'm take back my apology. This is where I think the conversation begins. Our people as the 25 picked the 25th best team as the Kansas City Royals. And now this is where I think a little bit of egg can currently be on my face. We debated this during the episode, and maybe I was going too sports talk radio-y. I think I leaned a little too much into the jersey and the uniform, because the Royals have been, since those winning teams in 2015, 14-15, they have not been, it's been tough. Like, this was supposed to be their window.
Yeah.
With like Bubic and Singer. Feel like there was other pitchers that went by the wayside. Bobby Witt, Pasquantino, Melendez. They had another group of like flame out outfield prospects that it just never clicked.
They had been intending those years. It didn't go, just nothing happened.
It just felt like they were supposed to start their window 1 or 2 years ago. Like Kyle Isbell, who's still on the team. Again, not to be shots fired, but I don't think he's panned out to what they wanted him to be. The Royals got their bidding done pretty early in the offseason. It was Seth Lugo. It was Michael Wacha. And then they added some veteran depth pieces, which were later. They added Adam Frazier, always a favorite, and Hunter Renfroe, who kind of was the model of consistency. This is kind of a big year for him to see. He ticked down a bit last year, and let's see if he ticks back up. But
yeah, at an age where that might happen.
Right, he's 32. But to slot someone in at 8th for the Royals lineup, I think that's fine. They also had retooled basically their entire bullpen. They brought in Will Smith. They added John Schreiber late, so this was after that. They had already signed Chris Stratton, Nick Anderson. So the Royals got a lot of their work done, and I leaned pretty hard into, it doesn't matter. I mean, the Twins are still the most talented team in the Central. The Tigers started to get an upswing, what people believed in them to be for this upcoming season. Fair or not, I was a little skeptical. The Guardians are a well-run franchise, and they are actually off to a hot start, 12-5 right now, but the team that's a game behind them is the Royals. And I guess where I was nervous, they didn't make a ton of improvements to their offense, and their offense scared me a little more than the pitching. Bobby Witt is a star of stars. Vinny Pasquantino, via Fangraphs, our friend, has been the number 1 player the last 7 days.
Yeah, he had slow start and then turned it on.
Has gone. So we love that for Vinny. Salvi Perez, for what you're going to get from a big boy catcher, sure. MJ Melendez also got off to a real hot start, has slowed down a little bit. And Nelson Velasquez is 25 years old and hits with some pop. That their lineup, they are 7th in home runs and 4th in stolen bases. Currently 12th in OPS. The starting pitching ERA is number 2. And the whip is 1. So the Royals, which was the most commented thing in the original video, I did debate it. And hey, I am willing to admit when I've been wrong. I think I was wrong here. I think I leaned a little too much into the jersey. Now I will say I got yelled at a lot for our center field tier list for what I said for putting Julio and Robert on the same line. Well, injuries and bad play. Why am I trying to get a win when I have a loss? I'll eat it. The Royals don't deserve to be on the nothing matters lines. They should be. Are they depending on youth to get better?
I think they're depending on youth. Bobby Witt's still very young.
Because, yes, if
ready to take that next step.
If Bobby Witt doesn't take a step, or he was really good.
Prove last year was real.
Vinny Pasquantino, MJ Melendez, Maikel Garcia, who's been leading off for them. With what they did to their offseason to bolster their pitching, they were depending on youth to truly get better. I mean, Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo have ceilings, but they were also good last year. Like, if Seth Lugo or Michael Wacha were slated in as a 4th starter on any contender, you'd be like, that's a nice signing. They had a good year last year.
At the price they got them at, that ain't bad.
So, Royals fans. That was me snapping so I could take a drink. Congrats to the Kansas City Royals. They are currently our biggest climbers from the midseason, offseason tier list to now the offseason tier list. The Pittsburgh Pirates. When we did this originally, the Pirates landed on was or feels like Charlie Morton's former team. I think that stays.
I think so.
Did they have any big ads from when we did that in December? I don't think anything crazy.
Yeah, the Marco Gonzalez flip happened. That feels Morton-y.
Rowdy Tellez was in December. Yeah, I don't think. I mean, they just added Michael A. Taylor late in free agency, which is a useful piece, but
that's nice. No matter how this season goes, that's useful.
Chapman was in Texas, or was in January. Again, I don't think any of these. I don't think any of these really change them. They feel like Charlie Morton's former team. I think that's easy. Next on the table, your Detroit Tigers. Okay. The Tigers, they end up Jack Flaherty, Kenta Maeda, Andrew Chafin, Shelby Miller, who's been turning heads early on this season. And I should have said this at the top. There was a smile on my face when I said we're doing off-season tier list rankings because we are 3-4 weeks into the season. The fact that you get a little data, use it. If someone's got their test next to you on the table and you can see how confidently they marked the answer, I don't know. It's extra data. They lost Erod. Who else really hurt them? Matthew Boyd wasn't signed at the time. The Tigers landed on... Where's Detroit?
Michigan.
Good point. They were depending on youth to get better.
I think
so
that's
again, it's
still
kind
true.
It's kind of Royals-esque, right? Like they added Mark Canha really early. There's a depth lineup piece. Pitching they bolstered with Jack Flaherty and Maeda and a one or two other arms. I guess they are more similar to the Royals, and they are off to a solid start as well.
Yeah. Adding Gio during spring training doesn't change the landscape of their dependence on youth.
No, but I think he's currently playing and batting about fifth for them. So that's something. But yeah, I guess in hindsight, similar to Kansas City. Kansas City probably got a little bit of more work done. So I think they are depending on youth.
Yeah. I think timeline's a little fuzzy, but I think since we did the midseason, they did the Colt Keith move and committed to him and all that. So they are still depending on youth.
The Boston Red Sox. We hit them. They are our first comeback. What is you doing, baby team? And I think they stay. The Red Sox got off to a hot start on their road trip. They came back to earth a little bit. Their big signing was Lucas Giolito. He ends up getting hurt out for the season. I think we even had that signing at the time, and they were still a what is you doing, baby.
Yeah.
So it's hard to knock them more for those points. Credit to the Red Sox. I mean, their pitching they are first in ERA. And it's all guys who have been there. I mean, Bayo, Cutter Crawford, Whitlock, Houck.
They still... We have a slightly better idea of what they is doing, but given that it seems like they have pitching plans top down organizationally, but
so the Chris
adding a little more.
The Chris Sale trade was after.
Yeah.
Vaughn Grisham is rehabbing. And I mean, at least that was a sign from the Red Sox that they were not in it for this year.
It's not a championship or bust season for sure.
But I think it's still a what is you doing, baby?
The best I can offer them is nothing matters. And I think in general, they're still looking back, even with how strong the pitching's begun the season. I imagine that most Red Sox fans are still saying you should have gotten more than just Giolito.
They locked up Devers.
Hendricks is rehabbing with them.
They locked up Bayo. They are 9-9, which is currently last place in the AL East, and potentially could be that. But yeah, I don't know. I still think it's fair. I'm sorry, Red Sox fans. Like I know there's now. It feels like there's a 5-year plan between locking up Bayo and Devers. Duran looks like he's sticking around. Yoshida's under contract. Casas looks like he's the real deal. But there's still. They either need to bolster a lot more in free agency, or they're going to need a couple more prospects to click. And, hey, maybe that happens this year. But for now, I think it is a what is you doing, baby. And they just changed front offices after having a guy that they said give him time. He didn't get time. This is an interesting one, BBD. The Cleveland Guardians. a team that has been frustrating. They were depending on youth to get better. I guess they just stay.
I think so. A lot of that, the group that isn't the like 4 guys in the lineup,
because they're
all young.
They deserve credit as a decent franchise, and they are banking on all of their young players. I mean, Juan Jimenez, the Naylor brothers, Will Brennan, Arias, Rocchio, Florial. Their whole pitching staff is young except Cookies Carrasco. So, yeah, I mean, they don't really have a traditional offseason, which is pretty lame, but they're kind of a well-run franchise. So, okay, so currently 3 AL Central teams on depending on youth to get better, and a little bit of credit to the AL Central. The youth has gotten a little better. So happy for them. Cleveland Guard Dogs leads to the Miami Marlins. What is you doing, baby? They will stay there. They have been arguably the most disappointing team to start the MLB season. A team without real expectations, if you're being honest, in that NL East with the Phillies and the Braves. The Marlins made the playoffs last year. We like a lot of guys on the Marlins coaching staff, but they are off to an atrocious start. Expectation-wise, in a team season, right now the Marlins are the most disappointing team, which, sorry, Marlins fans, I know that's not what you wanted to hear, but it's the truth.
Yeah, they, looking in hindsight, we were all over them. So I'm a little proud of us for identifying that pretty early in the off season.
I mean,
it did not get better, and by the time their TPP came around, I feel like we were all looking at each other like, oh, they're the easiest team that made the playoffs last year that won't this year.
Yeah, they got the benefit of the doubt on, like, hey, I guess they made the postseason last year, but when we looked at their team,
yeah, and their pitching staff in spring training got ravaged. But
Tim Anderson, Nick Gordon, and Emmanuel Rivera are the offensive adds since we talked. And this team's concern has always been offense. So, yeah, I mean, their pitching staff still looks good. That's the sick part. No Sandy, no Yuri, no Braxton Garrett, and their pitching staff still looks good. And that's why it's a what is you doing, baby?
You've got like a young
Let's
full
get some
staff.
hitters. You got a staff and a half. Is that a rhyme? Trevor Plouffe. What is you doing, baby? That brings us to your St. Louis Cardinals, who they were put on good offseason at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is a team that got a lot of their work done early on. They said they wanted 3 pitchers, so they went out and they got 3 pitchers. Sonny Gray, Lance Lynn, and Kyle Gibson. Sonny has been good. He got banged up for a little hamstring. Lance Lynn.
He's good.
Good. We love that for Lance. Gibby is throwing innings. He's gotten hit in a few of these games early on.
He's doing what they were banking on. Like the numbers will stabilize over the course of more starts, but
since that episode, they did add Andrew Kittredge in the bullpen. Okay, I'm not sure how much of a game changer that necessarily is for people, but
his first 7 innings this year have been clean.
They signed Keenan Middleton, but he is hurt, strained forearm.
Yes.
And then this is where this team is so, I don't know, kind of wild. Their lineup, basically Mason Wynn got added as the starting shortstop, but he's a real prospect, like top 30 prospect. Jordan Walker officially slots into the outfield. Lars Nootbaar just came back for them. Victor Scott won the job out of spring training. Has been struggling a little bit, but plays good defense, a lot of speed. Can we still say, because at that point, going back to December 20th, not a lot of teams had kind of really moved the offseason.
No, we'd just gotten Shohei done, so that was holding up kind of everything.
Soto had gotten done. Soto and Shohei were holding up everything.
Yeah.
Can you say the Cardinals had a good offseason still? They're off to an okay start. They are 9-9, which a la the Red Sox, is last place in the NL Central right now. How about that? A hearty NL Central.
I'm inclined to say it was still good, but from where we are right now, I think they're depending on these young guys.
Let's leave them on good offseason. It's funny because they have youth and the youth can help them get better, but they are still going to be dictated offensively by Goldschmidt, Arenado, Wilson Contreras. Can you count Lars Nootbaar and Brendan Donovan as young guys, 26, 27? Because I just read you the top 5 in their lineup.
They're the cuspers in that group because there's definitely an old crop and a young crop.
Here's what I'll say. I want to leave them at good offseason for now. I think if anything, they would get slid to a Charlie Morton former team. Feels like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to see
if all of those young guys stepped up, they would be a lot better. But every team can say that.
I want to see the other teams' off seasons before I make a big move on that. Red Sox, I might have left out Tyler O'Neill. When did that trade happen? I still don't think that moves them. Tyler O'Neill trade.
And O'Neill's been awesome.
He's been great. He just got banged up. That was December 8th. Okay, so that had already happened.
That had happened.
So no bonus points.
That move looks better now.
Looks better now.
Into it.
It's an interesting move.
We liked it at the time.
The New York Mets. We ended our episode by calling Jolly Olive to get a Mets fan's honest opinion on what it was. He, a Mets fan, put them in Nothing Matters. They did sign JD Martinez since then. I think if you look at the NL East through a scope of with extra answers now, Atlanta is going to be Atlanta. The Phillies are going to be Philly. The Nats are meh. Marlins looking bad. The Mets are 9-8. They sneaky added a lot by the end of it. That I would have to look at some dates here. So let's see. Harrison Bader was in January.
Yep.
Been tracking balls in center field for them.
Slow start, looking better now.
Let's see. Sevy had signed in November. It's fine. Sean Manaea signed in January. So currently we've added Manaea, Bader, and Jake Diekman in the bullpen. That probably doesn't move it for you.
When did this Hauser trade happen? December 20th, I think. So I think it would have just happened when we did
we
this.
Either just knew or we just did not know. They could potentially be an upgrade team. Like what did I just say? They added Sean Manaea, a known quantity starting pitcher. Bader, who's a center fielder, worst case platoon. Best case, like a 3-4 WAR guy. Depending on youth to get better feels dramatic.
Yeah.
But Nothing Matters feels a little messed up, too.
I would give them that Brett Beatty is 24 years old and off to a nice start this season.
It's nice.
That's a footnote, but he and Alvarez are the only, young dudes in their lineup.
Jose Budo with a good start.
Yeah, he's kind of nice with it.
Let's 26. Upgrade them to feels like a Charlie Morton former team. Because I don't know, could the Mets mess around and make a wild card? If the Marlins could last year.
Yeah. They survive enough. The Centrals kind of eat each other a bit.
Senga hasn't pitched for them yet.
No.
Do they have a timeline on that at all? Doesn't matter.
Not really.
But JD Martinez. So I don't know. We all kind of assumed the Mets would trade everyone at the deadline, and maybe they will, but that would still potentially be a win. And if you add JD Martinez, who's a really good DH, Bader, who's Bader, and Sean Manaea, who had some numbers we liked when we diagnosed his season last year, and he's just
I think the
pitched a
3
lot.
starts have been two good, one bad.
When you pair that with the rest of the work they've done in the bullpen rotation, I don't know. You can be Charlie Morton's former team. Congrats.
They're a real team. The first week went awful, but
yeah,
they bounced
back. Credit to them.
They're here.
Now, the San Francisco Giants. Here's a fun one for you. Because they got a lot of their work done pretty late.
After their TPP.
After their team profile and projection, we tried to push off as long as we could because we thought they'd be in the mix for one or two players. It became a lot more. So they signed Jung-Hoo Lee in December. I think we had that one. Or maybe we didn't. I'd have to double check the date. Jorge Soler and Matt Chapman, February and March. So those are platinum glove, hard-hitting third baseman, and just a mauler of baseballs in Jorge Soler. February and March, those are significant.
I think Jung-Hoo Lee had happened.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like 12-12.
Okay. But we didn't know what he was. We still don't, so I'm not gonna knock that yet. Blake Snell in March. Jordan Hicks in January, which the more we've diagnosed it, it's become one of the more liked contracts. The San Francisco Giants, we had them as a feel like Charlie Morton's former team. I think it's good offseason or won the offseason. Let's put them in good.
Good.
You thought about
like
one.
Answer.
Let's
Hard
put
to
them
say
in good.
won the offseason. Like they're on a team level, not off to like a crazy start or anything. Fourth in their division, 7-11 as we're recording this. So saying they've won, I know offseason's a bigger picture than that.
I think good offseason is fine.
I think good is fine.
But if we laid them next to the Cardinals, who are still there, Giants kind of blow them out of the water, right?
Definitely more fun offseason.
Matt Chapman, Soler, Snell, Hicks, Jung-Hoo Lee, compared to basically three starting pitchers.
The three.
So, I don't know. That's just in the back of our heads for now. But, man, the Giants did a lot of work and a lot of work late. Cincinnati Reds, I think they stay on, depending on youth to get better. They are depending on youth to get better. Although they made some nice moves, and we moved past the Frankie Montas signing pretty quick. But they did Jamer Candelario. I think there could be an argument for good offseason. I think depending on youth to get better is very fair for that team.
And I think the core of what that franchise is going to be moving forward, their offseason is based on how the youth improves.
But no, it's nice, and I've enjoyed the Reds. I love their young talent. I love their hitting. I also loved their offseason. I can't believe I've become a Cincinnati boy. They used free agency like the right way. They added pitching depth. They added a first baseman with flexibility in there. Like, they added what they were missing. That's what free agency is supposed to be. So, I don't know. That was my Reds madness.
Yeah.
The Milwaukee Brewers. One of the teams that I've fallen in love with early on in this baseball season. Milwaukee feels like a Charlie Morton former team, which is so true.
Mm-hmm.
My God.
Kind of inspired the category.
Played half a season there, had a 2.01 ERA and 11 starts. That's not real, by the way. None of that is real. It's just how it feels. I think they're depending on youth to get better. I went on a rant about their lineup. They have so many young guys contributing on that offense. Bryce Terang, Jackson Chourio. Who's the guy? I keep forgetting the guy they slide up to leadoff sometimes because he reminds me of Owen Miller, but he's not Owen Miller.
Oliver Dunn.
Come on.
Yanks legend.
Owen Miller, Oliver Dunn. Sal Frelick. William Contreras. You could do a sneaky young if you wanted to. They've been balling. Second best offense in baseball.
The Reese ad feels monumental.
They're almost like a Cleveland-esque type team, and they have gotten better. Excited for their season. The Chicago Cubs. This is an interesting one to me. The Chicago Cubbies, they landed on a what is you doing, baby? They were on the bottom of the list. And they ended up getting some work done later in free agency, including Shota Imanaga in January, who he has been lights out. That is looking like a winner from them. Cody Bellinger was December.
Yeah, we were,
or that was later. Excuse me.
It was later than that. We were kind of putting them there to say like, go get Bellinger so you can at least go back to.
I was on a get back to even. I think knowing what we know now, seeing what we've seen from Imanaga, they re-signed Belly. Also, a trade that is currently paying off in droves for them is Michael Busch, who I think homered in 5 straight games.
Yep.
Top 100 prospect that they got off the Dodgers scrap heap, essentially. I think they're good offseason.
I was thinking good offseason for them.
Look at that. Couple NL teams in the good offseason bucket. St. Louis, you might have to come down. We will see. 13, San Diego Padres. Padres, they obviously had the Juan Soto trade, which is going to dictate a lot of their offseason. They were a what is you doing, baby? Now, this is interesting because they had to shed Juan Soto's payroll, or that's what they said. But what they more so meant by that was there was no chance that we were going to re-sign Juan Soto, so we might as well get usable assets for him.
Get assets for him and be able to add to the team without overall adding payroll to what we had last year.
So the only thing... Did they add after that? They signed Wandy Peralta, who we love.
Yeah. Well, the Dylan Cease trade.
Yuki Matsui. I'm trying to see if there was any other pieces. And the Dylan Cease trade. So it's not a what is you doing, baby. I mean, they were clearly retooling. Jackson Merrill has won over my heart and San Diego Padre fans' hearts. They have some youth in the lineup. But they're depending on their stars to be stars. Like, they're depending on Tatis. They're depending on Bogarts, Cronenworth, Machado. I would say a Charlie Morton former team.
I'm comfortable with that.
Charlie Morton out in San Diego, pitching 11 starts to a 2.01 ERA. Not real. Same stats, though. Didn't think I remembered that. I like that for them. I think that's fair.
Yeah. From where they were.
Yeah.
Like and if a Charlie Morton team isn't trading away their star but still trying to win and improve, feels like Charlie Morton's former team.
Feels like Charlie Morton. The Minnesota Twins. Okay, so they were big favorites in the Central coming into the season. They landed on depending on youth to get better. Interesting. That's a pretty high tier on this list. Now, they've had a slow start. And I don't want to bury them for this.
We put them there with the mindset of we knew they were not planning to add payroll, so Sonny was going to be gone. They were literally depending on their youth to get better. But they ended up adding a couple older guys.
We haven't done a lot of what teams lost. And they lost Sonny Gray, Kenta Maeda, couple other Jorge Polanco in the Mariners trade.
Yeah,
we kind of looked at it as a positive way because the Twins seemingly had the most talent in the division, and maybe they do. I mean, they have an argument for what is you doing, baby, right?
Yeah, they were the favorite in that division by a lot and kind of still are, but...
They added Carlos Santana, which, okay.
Yeah, not working so far, but I trust him to be a pro.
What's the maximum you're going to get from Carlos Santana, I guess would be my statement.
Yeah.
couple bullpen arms. They got Topa, I think, in that Mariners trade, and same with DeScalfani. I don't know, man. I mentioned we have the 3 to 4 weeks of data going back to the Korea series. I think I'm going to go, what is you doing, baby? Like, I don't think they deserve to be Charlie Morton's former team. We just put the Padres there, and they added Dylan Cease and some bullpen. The Mets added a lot of pieces. The Pirates are a Charlie Morton former team.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're fun, and I like them. I'm going to put the Twins on the bottom. Maybe that stings. Let's see. Seattle Mariners. This is a fun one because they're off to a slow start, and I wasn't in love with them. The Seattle Mariners were in What Is You Doing, Baby? Their offseason did pick up, and I started to talk myself into it a little bit. Jorge Polanco, January. Mitch Haniger, January. Luke Raley, January. So those are 3 significant pieces in their lineup. Their rotation didn't really need to be touched. Mm-hmm. They added Ryan Stanek, end of spring training, and he's like their setup guy closer now, with Munoz. Maybe this is where I might confuse or lose some people because they are off to a bad start. I didn't hate what they did with their overall off season. I didn't know where they were going. Are they depending on youth to get better? Are they depending on Julio to get better?
Julio,
they lost
still qualify as youth.
They lost Teoscar and Eugenio, which, again, they were celebrated. They signed Mitch Garver. They traded away Robbie Ray. They traded away Kelnick, which I hated.
Yeah. I don't think I can say they're depending on youth.
I don't think they are. I don't think it's what is you doing, baby. Like, they had a plan. They wanted to strike out less. Yeah. They retooled. I like Jorge Polanco.
The early returns on the retool are not what you wanted. They're still
ideal.
Striking out too much, which was their stated goal. But
let's put them as a Charlie Morton former team.
I think they're a Charlie Morton former team.
He'd look good in those Mariner colors. I don't think he's a Pacific Northwest guy. I think he's a Florida guy.
Yeah.
So maybe he signed a 1-year deal with them, had a bad first half, got traded to San Diego, lights out. You're either getting it or you're not. That brings us to the Toronto Blue Jays, which they were a what is you doing, baby? They have the chance to sweep my Yankees as I record this. So credit to you, Toronto. They added Justin Turner in January. Bonafide MLB hitter. We like him a lot. It was just felt a little weird because it was so righty for the Blue Jays.
They had Belt. Felt like, well, if you're going to do that, just keep the guy that helped your balance. But he's good.
Yariel Rodriguez, he made his debut. I mean, we still don't have a lot on him, but that was a January signing. I don't... Is it a what is you doing, baby? Were they one of Charlie Morton's former teams?
Do they matter?
Are they depending on youth to get better? It feels like that's what they're leaning into with Vladdy and Bichette. I know we don't think of them that way. They're looking for Manoah. He's MIA right now. They might be a Charlie Morton former team. Yeah. Where else would you put them? I mean, if it all falls apart, it's what is you doing, baby? But I don't think it's all going to fall apart.
Turner's been good.
Turner's been great.
I'd give that money to a different infielder, but
let's put him as Charlie Morton's former team. Because
They
it's
don't
not
feel the same as the Padres.
it's
but-
not nothing matters. It doesn't feel the same as the Padres. I mean, you can't say the Padres had a good offseason, though. They lost
No,
Juan Soto.
Traded Juan Soto.
Traded away Juan Soto. That's really tough. I'm going to put an asterisk on the Blue Jays. I don't know how I feel about it. I wanted them to do a little bit more. I don't know. I like the Blue Jays. I guess you hear the hesitation in my voice because sometimes Blue Jays fans can be the meanest to us because we are Yankee fans. I like the Blue Jays. I love their pitching. Their bullpen, now that they got Romano and Swanson back, I love their bullpen. Like, I love 8 guys in their bullpen. And that's, Bassett just shoved. Barrios has been awesome this year. Kikuchi. Gossman has been the weak link. That I don't know. I wanted them to do more pitching-wise or hitting-wise, or at least a lefty. They don't care. You could say the youth thing, but there's a lot of veterans. I think it's Charlie Morton's favorite former team. And I actually did think he pitched there, but he didn't. It just looked.
Just feels like
I had to double check. It felt like he did. I think we are on our final handful of teams. Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays are the Rays. I don't know what you want to hear. They operate completely differently.
Yeah, Morton team. Move on.
Former Charlie Morton team. Truthful this time. We move on. The Arizona Diamondbacks, my Snicks. So, this is fun. We like this. They signed Jordan Montgomery very late. He's yet to pitch to them. I think he's going to pitch Friday.
Something like that.
I think this week, the 19th, it was originally slated. Yeah, he's pitching Friday. So that was a big one. Erod had already signed.
Mm-hmm.
He was December.
Has not pitched yet for them. Moved to the 60-day today, but
That's fine.
we like the move.
They had traded for Eugenio. They signed Jock Peterson, and they signed Randall Grichuk to be a lefty-righty platoon. So Jordan Montgomery, who is supposed to be one of the better pitchers in this free agency, a DH platoon. I think my Snakes had a good offseason. And that's where we had them.
They're at least a good offseason.
Yeah, I guess, okay, I wanted to see that line develop. Currently feels like St. Louis is a bit of an outlier.
They feel like an outlier. I'm curious to see how we feel by the end of this, if the Snakes feel like an outlier here, because there can be multiple winners.
There can be multiple winners. I guess if
I
you,
like what they did.
if you put the Snakes and Giants side by side,
Yeah.
how different does it feel? Because they
As far
also
as
traded for
total
Robbie
and-
Ray. Robbie Ray, Snell, and Hicks. Like, they added pitching.
Yeah.
Chapman,
They stole
Soler,
Jock
and
from
Lee.
them.
That's kind of sneaky crazy offseason.
I'm going to put them next to each other.
Okay. New York Yankees, I think we can say it was a good offseason. They had signed Soto, or they traded for Soto at the time.
Verdugo they got at the time.
Verdugo, did they have Stroman yet?
They didn't have Stroman yet.
Stroman's been good.
January.
MLB starter. I think the Yankees had a good offseason, and I think people around baseball believe that. And I guess if I'm taking my lumps from Kansas City before, people thought I was being a Yankees homer by saying they had a good offseason for adding Juan Soto. One of the best players ever. And Doogie. And Stroh. Okay, running hot. The Houston Astros. This is an interesting one. Their big signing was Josh Hader, which we were like, damn. And that came after the episode.
Yeah, that came after.
That was late. That their offseason was pretty quiet. I think they are a Charlie Morton former team.
They certainly were last time, and I'm willing to put them back there.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. They are a Charlie Morton former team. You can't say it's not a what is you doing, baby, just because they had a slow start. Because everyone believed in Houston before the season, and that they added a beautiful bonus point in Hader. The Philadelphia Phillies. How about them? They were in good offseason. They didn't have a lot of needs. They added Whit Merrifield after we recorded. But otherwise,
yeah, which is a nice move.
Solid. A useful
Fills a
piece. Their big thing was re-signing Nola. They extended Wheeler, if you want to put that in there.
I do like that.
I think it's just a good offseason.
Yeah. They were good. They're still good.
They retained what they needed. World Series contender, retained what they needed. The final teams, the Baltimore Orioles. They traded for Corbin Burns, huh?
Yeah.
They're still built on youth.
Yeah, if they aren't,
they're depending on youth to get better.
Youth, none of these guys.
Corbin Burns is awesome. There's an argument for good offseason because they added Corbin bleeping Burns. We'll leave him at depending on youth to get better. We'll do a double check at the end to see how things feel. The Texas Rangers. We were kind of waiting for them to make a late signing. Like, we thought they'd be in on Monty or kind of a sneaky.
Yeah, they felt like a sneaky Cease team.
Right. They were in the mix on that. We heard rumors on that. I don't think they got any bidding done. Did they bring in anyone after we record? Jared Walsh as a free agent, minor league deal. They signed Michael Lorenzen.
Yeah. D-Rob's in the bullpen.
D-Rob was
after. Nice start to the year.
We had the Texas Rangers on depending on youth to get better. That's interesting and kind of true.
Yeah. Evan Carter.
Yeah. They've done a lot of their work elsewhere. I like it. And seeing them next to Baltimore and Milwaukee makes me feel better about it. Wow. Okay, that worked out more than I thought. The Los Angeles Dodgers. Here we go, people. Your number 2 team. We had them as won the offseason. I think it'll be funny in a minute to see if anyone else goes toe-to-toe with them. Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Teoscar Hernandez, James Paxton, Tyler Glasnow. We knew a chunk of those when we recorded last time, but we did not have all of them. I still think they won the offseason. No one is selling Dodgers stock. Teoscar was in January, so that's a $24.5 million bonus ad.
How many good things have we said about that across different programs?
James Paxton was January. God, that 8-walk game was tough to watch. I guess I want to put them on one the offseason and see if anyone deserves to join them. Your final team, as rated by our fans, was the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves, again, the Chris Sale trade, which seemed fun for them because let's see what they'll tap into. And he's looked...
trade and extension.
He's trade and extension. He has looked Chris Sale-ish. Reynaldo Lopez was a move they got, and they were moving him to a starter, and everyone was like, okay.
I don't think we even knew that yet.
No, we just thought they signed him as a reliever. He's been awesome.
He's been one of the best starters. 18 innings, 1 run.
So, kind of have to upgrade that. They got Kelnick for free. That was in December.
Mm-hmm. Still young.
And they only had so many places to add on that team. So we had the Atlanta Braves in a feel like Charlie Morton's team. Should they be good offseason?
I was thinking they're good.
I think they're a good offseason.
They didn't do the FU move that would elevate you to won the offseason.
They dodged doing an FU move, which again could help or hurt. Instead of throwing $100 million at someone, they got Sale and they're taking a chance on him for a couple years, which might work. And Reynaldo Lopez, oh my God, what's that about? So we have all of the teams on a list. I guess, BBD, if you had to pair a team on won the offseason with the Dodgers, who would it be? Because right now on good offseason, so these would be the teams that could jump up. Cardinals, Giants, Snakes, Cubs, Yankees, Phillies, Braves.
I'm kind of between two that I would go for the shout out.
Right.
Because we've gotten to cheat and see a couple weeks of the season, see what these off seasons have felt like early. It's hard to argue many teams feel better about their off season before 2 days ago than the New York Yankees.
Yankees feel pretty good. Juan Soto
Soto's
is one of those things you can flex is like.
Even better than advertised, and I was saying before they got him, like, hey, this is Ted Williams, by the way. So
He's Juan Soto. It went through my head. Who's the other team?
I've been just into what the Snakes were about, the attitude there of like not resting on you got to the World Series and have a bunch of young players. Like I like that they reinforced heavily. But I don't know if they have the move that you can say is the one the offseason type move. Montgomery is one of the better starters out there.
Monty was good. We haven't seen
Monty
him.
and Erod were like 2 of the 4 best starters coming into free agency. 5.
We haven't seen either of them yet. Yankees, you get locked in on Soto. Verdugo, I mean, needs a shout out. Like that is a good major league hitter. Stroman has been good. Can you say that Soto, Verdugo, and Stroman can go toe-to-toe with Ohtani, Glasnow, Yamamoto, Teoscar? I feel like I'm missing someone. Paxton.
Yeah, I think getting
It's
Yamamoto
closer than I'd hope.
Well,
Or would have thought.
I would say the Dodgers won it more, but
Man, Dodgers,
Yankees don't
Yankees.
feel.
Dodgers, Yankees on top of a graphic. I mean, our socials team will throw up on themselves. It's not the Cars. Did the Yanks go up?
I wasn't expecting my takeaway to be that they feel the most like they should go up, but I kind of feel like they should go up.
Put the Yankees up there. If people want to get mad, screw it. I've had a tough week.
Cubs have been. They look a lot smarter for the Shota stuff, but I don't think they're quite won the offseason. But they look smart for that one so far.
I kind of want to move the Cardinals down.
I could be talked into them being Charlie Morton pretty easily if you said the word.
I think so, man.
They just feel different from what else is there.
Very different. Very different.
And Charlie Morton's former teams are pretty much universally like smart. Like
Good teams.
That ain't bad.
Good spin on him always. I think this is the final list. On top, won the offseason. Yankees, Dodgers. Get mad, people. Let's do it. Good offseason. Giants, Snakes, Cubbies snuck in there. Phillies with not doing much. I don't know. They did have a good offseason. Braves with a sneaky offseason. Depending on youth to get better, Royals, Tigers, Guardians, Reds, Brewers, Orioles, Texas Rangers. Was or feels like Charlie Morton's former team, Pirates, Mets, Padres, Mariners, Blue Jays, Rays, Houston, are Charlie Morton's former teams. And St. Louis, late demotion. Nothing matters, A's, Rocks, Nats, White Sox, Angels, and what is you doing, baby? Sox, Marlins, Twins. Hello! Tell me, what did me and BBD get wrong? I could see it being a little mad at the Yankees, but I also want Soto. I could also not.
Best ever. Be mean to the Red Sox.
Twins and Sox could burn us, I think, a little bit. And I guess tell us what else you think is going to change. Maybe we should check in on these come midseason or post-trade deadline and see where we landed. Hey, thank you guys. Have a great week. Have a great rest of the weekend. And we'll see you guys on Monday.